Assalamu alaikum, guys. First, I apologize deeply for not having made a video in a long time. I recently moved to my own place with roommates, so I don't live at home with my parents anymore. But alhamdulillah, it's been an amazing experience, teaching me a lot about being on my own and being dependent. And then, of course, college started back up again. I'm now working 2 jobs, as well as volunteering and being in a lot of leadership roles, you could say. And basically, today's topic that I wanted to talk about is remaining humble, because I always, especially when you are in a position of leadership or position of power, it can sort of get to your head sometimes. So that's basically what I wanted to go over today, inshallah. Okay. Inna alhamdulillahi wa nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala alihi Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Okay, so Bismillah. So basically, being humble was what I wanted to cover today, inshallah. And also, just to be quick about this, I'm not a scholar or a sheikha, maybe one day, inshallah, but everything that I say, it's basically based on my own experience and advice that I have based on my own experience. Or I'll look up hadith or verses in the Quran that I can share with you guys, inshallah. So basically, one of my biggest fears of all time is not being sincere or humble when I am doing something for the sake of Allah. Because, like I said, when you're in a leadership role, especially when it's, when you have to deal with youth and like young Muslims, you want to set a good example, but then it can sometimes get to you. You want people to, especially on the social media these days, we may be taking a picture or selfies of us doing good deeds. And of course, we never know the intention behind it. Someone could genuinely be doing it for the sake of Allah and just be posting it to social media to inspire others to do the same thing. But then my worry then would be like, you keep advertising you doing good deeds until eventually your intentions change. People's intentions can change, and it starts being, you want the likes or people to praise you and stuff like that. And I think that's one of my biggest fears, is basically kind of like doing things for the wrong reasons. It's almost like being a hypocrite, basically. And being a hypocrite is a serious, serious thing in Islam. Let me find the Quranic verse about it. But basically, it's like you're, outwardly people think that, you're this really great person, you're doing all these good deeds, and they're making dua for you and everything. But on the inside, you feel like you're not doing things for the right reason, and you're looking for that praise more than you are looking to seek to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the thing about it is, when you are doing a good deed, we shouldn't be seeking like praise or like thanks from other people. Because if you're doing it purely for the sake of Allah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to reward us, whether in this life or in the hereafter. So we don't need people to thank us. We don't need people to be like, oh, you're such a good person, because that's not the purpose of us doing this good deed. So in Surah al-Nisaa 142, this verse said, "Surely the hypocrites strive to deceive Allah, and He shall requite their deceit to them. And when they stand up to prayer, they stand up sluggishly. They do it only to be seen of men, and do not remember Allah save a little." So basically, I really like this verse because it was just saying, because you can never hide your true intentions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He's all-seeing, all-knowing. So basically, when it's saying strive to deceive Allah, is like basically we can deceive people. It's not that hard to do that. I mean, I don't know, I guess it depends on the people, but you can make them think that you're doing things to, for Allah's sake, but you might be doing it for other reasons, but they don't know that because that's in your heart. But you can never deceive Allah because He knows what's in your heart. You can't hide that. And then the second part where it says they stand up to prayer sluggishly and they only do it to be seen of men. So basically it's saying like the only reason that I would be praying is so other people can see me and be like, oh, mashallah, she's a good Muslimah, like stuff like that. And I mean, it's good to be praying because especially in our day and time, when you're young and you're like, for me, I always find myself on the go, always doing things like, if I'm in public, I need to pray. So pray, of course, like it shouldn't matter where you are and when you're public, but don't be praying so other people can praise you, inshallah. And then there's another verse that I wanted to share. It's from the same surah al-Nisaa, and I think it's 145. And basically it says, surely the hypocrites are in the lowest stage of the fire, and you shall not find a helper for them. So basically being a hypocrite, it's like a serious thing in Islam, because like, especially when you're, again, in a high position of leadership, whether you're an imam or a sheikh, or even being like a big sister, or just like a role model, like people are looking up to you, people are going to try and follow your example, and by you telling them one thing and you doing something else in your heart, you can be a hypocrite in action too, not only how you feel in your heart, but like maybe you're preaching to tell others to pray or to read Quran, but you yourself aren't doing that. And that's something that I'm always continuously working on, because if I'm giving advice to other people to be better in their deen, I should first be doing this myself. And of course I'm not perfect. Maybe I will give advice to someone about salah or about staying away from a bad sin, and then maybe at one point I was never doing this sin, but then I start doing this sin, So of course you're not perfect, maybe you can fall into something that you never meant to fall into in the first place, but do your best, especially again if you're in a leadership role, to avoid doing things that you're advising people against. So it wouldn't make sense for me to be telling people to stop smoking if I'm smoking. That's basically what I'm saying. When you're just advising people, just be careful to have the right intention. Always be mindful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you. And it's just one of my biggest fears, because I am in a lot of positions where people look up to me, and I don't want people thinking that I'm this great person. And I think I saw this on I think I saw it on Facebook the other day. It was just like this post that was saying like, don't think I'm this greatest person because of my post on social media. I am nothing, I'm a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My only purpose in this life is to please Him and to help others to be guided to Islam. So by my posts on social media, by me posting about Islam, me posting reminders, I post a lot about social justice, I know a lot. But again, that doesn't mean that I am free from flaws. It doesn't mean that I don't sin. It doesn't mean that I don't miss salah sometimes. It doesn't mean that I don't do things that are always good. And that's, again, why I always like to remind people whenever somebody compliments me, I'm like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is covering my sins. You don't know, I could be like the worst of the worst. And I think, I can't remember, I was trying to look for it, but there was this one Sahaba, I don't know if it was a Sahaba or just an ordinary person, but basically they always used to think of themselves as the lowest of the low, meaning that they were always focused on fixing their flaws before looking at other people's flaws. And again, it's always good to remind other people, because if we care about other people, they're our family, our friends, of course we don't want them in hellfire, we don't want them to be doing sins. But it just, I think this person was, it's not like they didn't remind other people, it was just more like they were so concerned about their own self that they barely had time to remind or try and fix people, or try and tell people you need to change this, you need to change that. Because honestly, that's probably one of my pet peeves as well, is if someone else is always looking at my flaws, always telling me to change, always telling me, Amina, like, you just have all these things wrong with you, you're always this and you're always that. For me, it's very frustrating, because if you're always looking at my flaws, how do I know that I'm doing something right? I could be doing something wrong most of the time, but if you're always focusing on the negative aspects and not telling me what I'm doing right, I'm just going to feel depressed, and I'm like, I'm not going to change at all, because I'm never going to do anything right, because you're always just pointing out my flaws. And a good friend is someone who, reminds you when doing something wrong, but if they're doing that all the time, like 24/7, of course you're going to avoid them, and that's not the whole point of being a good friend and reminding people to strive towards pleasing Allah. Because again, it's also like, if you're always pointing out other people's flaws, they're going to be looking at you like, well, don't you have flaws? I know you're not perfect. It's not fair for you to be always looking at my own flaws, because everyone has flaws, everyone. Okay, so then there's this one hadith that I wanted to share right quick, because the azan for Zuhur just went off. It says, the first 3 people the hellfire will be kindled with. Abu Hurayrah radiallahu anha said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, verily the first to be judged on the day of resurrection will be a man who had died as a Shayed. He will be brought forward. Allah will remind him of the favors he had bestowed upon him, and the man will acknowledge them. Then he will ask him, what did you do to express gratitude for it? The man will reply, I fought for your cause till I was martyred. And Allah will say, you have lied. You fought so that the people call you courageous, and they have done so. Command will then be issued about him, and he will be dragged on his face and thrown into hell. Next, a man who had acquired and impaired knowledge and read the Quran will be brought forward. Allah will remind him of the favors he had bestowed upon him, and the man will acknowledge them. Then he will ask him, what did you do to express gratitude for it? The man will reply, I acquired knowledge so that people will call you, I acquired knowledge and taught it, and read the Quran for your sake. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to him, you have lied. You acquired knowledge so that people might call you a learned man, and you read the Quran so they might call you a reciter, and they have done so. And command will be issued, and he will be thrown into hellfire. Next, a man whom Allah made affluent and to whom Allah had given plenty of wealth will be brought forward. Allah will remind him of the favors he had bestowed upon him, and the man will acknowledge them. He will ask him, what did you do to express gratitude for it? The man will reply, I did not neglect any of the ways you liked wealth to be spent liberally for your sake. Allah will say to him, you have lied. You did it so that people could call you generous, and they have done so. And then command will be issued, and he will be thrown on his face into hellfire. And it's in the book I'll put it in the description below. But basically, I wanted to share that hadith because it's like, even people who are fighting for Allah's cause, who are teaching for Allah's cause, who are spending in Allah's cause, or who they're appearing like they are doing these things. On the inside, they may be doing it again to look for the praise and for people to say all these good things about it. And that's always my number one fear. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it so we're sincere and humble, and we aren't a hypocrite, and we aren't doing good deeds for other people to praise us or to look up at us. Like, of course we want to inspire others, but our number one priority should be to please Allah. And again, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not perfect. That's my fear, is I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be doing things for the wrong reason. So my advice to myself and others is to always keep your intentions in check. Don't feel the need to put everything on social media. Just do your best. You're not perfect. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all. Also, please keep Syria, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, all the other countries that are going through a lot of crisis. I don't even know what I'm saying. They're going through a lot of hardship, basically. Especially Syria. The refugees are fleeing everywhere and not finding many people that are accepting of them. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for them. And may Allah make it easy for all of us, no matter what stage of life we're in, to make our affairs easy for us. Or not even just easy, but for us to be able to handle them and be strong, even if we're going through a difficult time. So, Subhanaka Rabbika Rabbil Izzati Amma Yasifun wa Salamun ala Mursalin walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Subhanaka wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. والعصر إن الإنسان في خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Assalamu alaykum. Thanks for watching. JazakAllah Khair.